For those who are fond of mysteries, they may have heard of gateways leading to the abodes of gods like the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan, the Stone Circle of Stonehenge in England, or the magnificent Great Pyramid of Giza. However, in mythological culture, the Tower of Babel is seen as a symbol of humanity's attempt to reach heaven without the intervention of divine beings. According to legend, the Tower of Babel is where humanity ceased to use a common language. So what happened? Did Babel truly exist, or is it merely a tale of legend? The story of Babel, or Babelu, has been recorded in Genesis, becoming one of the most significant and meaningful tales in the Bible. It symbolizes human rebellion and dispersion, profoundly influencing the development of future cultures. After the Great Flood, the descendants of Noah migrated eastward and settled in the land of Shinar. There, they still shared a common language. They decided to build a tall tower, the Tower of Babel, symbolizing human pride and the desire to reach heaven without God's intervention. The Bible records that the construction of the Tower of Babel began in Babylon under the command of King Nimrod. They said to each other, "Let's make bricks and mortar, and let's build a city where we can live together, and let's construct a tower so tall that its top will touch the sky." They began the work, and it must be said they worked diligently. They molded bricks, plenty of bricks, and transported them heavily to the construction site. They piled bricks with mortar higher and higher each day until the tower rose tall and magnificent like a pagan temple. And they continued to build. They did not need a polished and spacious tower, but they wanted their tower to be the greatest architectural achievement in the world, so they could point to it with pride in their accomplishments. King Nimrod sought to establish a connection with the gods living in the heavens, and his greatest aspiration was to converse with supernatural beings. However, the people's and the king's goal was not to honor God, but to build a name for themselves. "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth." Seeing the ambition of humanity, God used his power to bring disaster upon them. He caused the construction workers building the tower to suddenly speak different languages, so they could no longer communicate and understand each other. As a result, the construction of the Tower of Babel was halted, humanity was scattered into groups with their own languages, and eventually evolved into separate nations. However, the Tower of Babel was not constructed for the purpose of worshiping God, but rather to demonstrate human pride and power. God was displeased with this, as he taught humans that humility is a valuable virtue. However, the descendants of Noah did not repent. Instead, they became even more arrogant and tried to escape God's punishment. They failed to realize that there is nothing that God cannot do. Their foolish actions and thoughts destroyed the plan to build the tower. God did not directly punish them, but instead caused the human community to be unable to understand each other, leading to the cessation of tower construction and dispersal throughout the world. This displeased God, and he said, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other." This contrary action led to the punishment of humanity. Initially, when everyone spoke the same language, now they could not understand each other because languages were divided into many tongues. Humans were also scattered across the earth. The Tower of Babel, a symbol of human strength when united, was never completed due to the loss of unity and cohesion in language. However, to this day, there is no evidence to confirm the authenticity of what is stated in the Bible. Although there are currently about 5,000 languages in the world, and language researchers have pointed out that, contrary to fragmentation, languages are becoming more similar as we look back into the past. Finding evidence that matches events in the Bible has led many people to believe that the Tower of Babel is not just a legend, but could be a true story. The tower's construction materials were exactly as described in the Bible, with bricks taken from sandy soil, and quartz crystals later appeared. Some researchers believe that this material is a kind of evidence of the intention to create a means of communication with the gods. Charles Dyer proposed that the tower be built from bricks containing many quartz crystals as a giant receiving station, creating a large radio. It is worth noting that ancient priests often wore quartz stones on their corsets or hatbands. Was the tower a communication device from the priest, king, or patriarch? This interpretation has garnered agreement from many and is not easily dismissed from a technical standpoint. Another hypothesis in this context is that the desire to connect with divine beings through the construction of the Tower of Babel created discord among a different species, and they used their weapons to destroy this communication device. Roger Oakland, a reputable researcher, conducted serious studies and argued that the Tower of Babel was indeed a large radio device capable of enabling humans to receive messages from planets and distant stars through very distant light beams from the universe. However, the question arises, where did this knowledge come from? And was there assistance from a contemporary species with advanced techniques to establish relationships with distant entities, deities, or a higher power? The field of archaeology has unearthed much evidence, such as the remains of a kingdom never before seen, named Senir, located about 75 kilometers from Baghdad. These are the ruins of a tower approximately 5,000 years old, containing bricks with large quantities of quartz crystals. The traces of this tower and the surrounding area, known as the Atamananki complex, serve as historical evidence. However, the debate continues across various scientific fields, with questions revolving around the realism of the Tower of Babel story, whether the human species of that time unified in language after the divine intervention destroyed the tower and subsequently dispersed across the world, developing different languages and races. When it comes to the Tower of Babel and the city of Babylon, the Bible simply refers to them as that city and that tower. Babel in ancient Hebrew carries the meaning of confusion, chaos, like a tangled mess. Therefore, this myth is known as Babel or Babalu. According to research, the tower has a shape similar to the oldest pyramids in Egypt. These are structures with diminishing sizes, stacked on top of each other into separate tiers, with a sloping face or a spiral staircase leading from one tier to another. Each tier typically bears a distinct color, reflecting offerings to different planets, and the four corners of the tower align with the four cardinal points of the compass. At the top of the tower is usually a temple, also serving as an observation platform. The interior of the tower is often made of dried clay, while the outer surface is covered with fired bricks. A special type of resin in the Babylonian region, similar to asphalt, was often used instead of mortar in the construction process. This type of tower is often referred to as a Zikunt. One cannot ignore Peter Bruegel's paintings. These two paintings provide the most realistic view of the Tower of Babel. In this painting, Bruegel does not focus too much on the story in the Bible, but focuses more on depicting the process of building the Tower of Babel. Bruegel clearly showed the scene of thousands of people working hard to build the tower. The new bricks still have a bright red color. Because the tower construction process was so long, the bricks in the lower part have turned slightly gray. This building has a system of corridors to go up, but it does not seem to have any rooms designed. This shows that the entire tower only serves one purpose: to build higher and higher. Next to the tower, Bruegel depicts a busy harbor, where ships have just finished unloading their cargo of construction materials. Not all construction materials arrive by ship. We can clearly see the quarried stone blocks around the tower. A nearby river provided clay for firing the bricks. Construction materials are lifted by a crane system along the tower. At first, it is thought that Bruegel's Tower of Babel is divided into tiers, but upon closer inspection, you will discover that the tower is not simply tiered, but is actually a spiral going up. There is no obvious stratification. What do you think about this far-fetched dream that they put their faith in the Tower of Babel? Please let me hear your opinion below in the comments section. Don't forget to press the subscribe button to continue the journey of discovering ancient history with us. Thank you for your attentive listening.